A mother took in an old vagabond and convinced him to become a governess for one night. And when she came home, Valeria ran home, picking up her children from school and kindergarten on the way, and started cooking for dinner. She boiled pasta and sausages, and then realized that she had forgotten to buy milk to make porridge for little Andrew. She started screaming, "Oh, I'm lazy. We have to rush to the store before it gets dark." The woman put on her jacket and shouted to her eldest daughter, "Lisa, take care of the little ones. Make sure that Andres doesn't put anything in his mouth and doesn't run barefoot on the cold floor. I'll run to the store and back. In the meantime, I'm done. I'll come back and we'll have dinner." Valeria walked quickly through the dark alleys and kept looking at her watch, worried that the children were alone. Finally, a supermarket appeared around the corner. The woman bought some milk and ran home. She didn't notice that she had been followed for 10 minutes by 3 suspicious people. They were waiting for the right moment to rob her. All this was noticed by an old homeless man, and when the 3 men were about to snatch the bag from the hands of the frightened Valeria, the old man started shouting, "People, help! They are robbing a woman!" and began threatening the criminals with a stick. "I'm going to call the police!" They swore their hearts out, but quickly retreated, leaving the criminals alone with the frightened woman screaming behind them, "You old bastard! You've ruined everything!" Valeria breathed a sigh of relief. Her legs trembled with fear, and she mechanically sat down on the bench. "Thank you." "They almost robbed me, you bastards. Nothing is sacred. My purse is already empty. I don't want them to take the last thing." The homeless man began to berate the woman. "Why are you walking alone in the alleys at such a late hour? And you haven't even noticed the crowd of hooligans." Valeria began to make excuses. "Yes, I forgot to buy milk. Little son for the hunks. That's why I had to leave the house at such a late hour. Oh, I have to run. The children are alone. I have 5. I don't know what to do. Tomorrow I have no one to tell me to leave them with. A friend promised to look after them, and today she suddenly said no, and the daycare is in quarantine. And I can't believe it, and you can't take a bunch of them to work. They'll be kicked out in a moment. I'm rambling. Excuse me. I have to go." The old man suddenly said, "Listen, my name is Grigory Ivanovich. Do you want me to look after your children tomorrow? Don't look at me, I'm badly dressed. It's just the situation. I love children. I think I can handle your naughty children." Valeria puzzled. "I don't know. I'm afraid of something. I don't know you at all." Grigory Ivanovich reassured her. "I'm not a maniac or a thief. I'm not going to steal anything from you. I've just lost my memory. That's why I'm here, wandering around." "Well, not really, it's up to you. At least let me accompany you home, so you won't be bothered again." They chatted a little more on the way. Valeria thought her traveling companion was quite polite and intelligent, and he didn't look like a convict or a gangster. The woman hesitated the whole time. She was worried because her children were the most precious thing in the world, and she couldn't risk their lives. But at the same time, her situation was absolutely desperate. She had to go off duty tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Who would she leave the children with? She couldn't leave them alone either. Her friend flatly refused to keep the children, but her fiancé turned up and asked her out. The neighbors are also unreliable. She likes to drink a lot and go out. There was one, Aunt Sina, downstairs, and she ended up in the hospital because of the stress. At work, they had strictly warned her about it. No sick days or time off. What can I do? Once again, she looked at the old man carefully and appraisingly. She looked at the old man again carefully, weighing the pros and cons. He was poorly dressed, but he didn't stink. He was clean, and he had saved her from the scoundrels. Therefore, he was not a bad man, and she decided to take the risk. "I agree, Grigory Ivanovich. Let's go to my house, spend the night, and sit with my eagles tomorrow. Okay?" The tramp was delighted. "Don't worry, everything will be fine. I won't let you down." When Valeria entered the apartment, he was immediately surrounded by little shooters and began to babble all at once. Wow, Mum. Who is this? Our grandfather? Where did you get him from? Are you going to live with us now? Valeria laughed. Yes, Grandfather Grigory. Tomorrow he will sit with you. Obey him, okay? And don't play any tricks on me. And now let's get acquainted and have dinner. Finally, this is Lisa, my eldest daughter. She is 8 years old and in 2nd grade. The black-haired girl smiled. This is Mitch and Marek. They are the same age, 6 years old. The children waved. This is Silvio. He is 4 years old. And Andrew is only 2. The children made faces and had fun, and little Andrew whined because he was hungry. They all sat down to dinner together. Grigory Ivanovich, though modest, ate with great appetite. It was obvious that he had not seen even such a simple dish as pasta and sausages for a long time. Then Valeria brought everyone upstairs and put them to bed with difficulty, because everyone knows that as soon as the word sleep is said, children immediately perk up and immediately need water, a toilet, food, a story to be read to them, and something else. At last, the apartment fell into place. Silence, and Valeria said to Grigory Ivanovich, I'll make you a bed in the kitchen. On the cot, if you don't mind. In the bathroom. On the shelf. There's a towel and clean bedclothes, and also, if you'll excuse me, I've got some things for you in there. They're clean and washed by my late husband. We'll put them in the washing machine. They could do with a refreshment. Children, after all, do you mind? Thank you, Valeria, for your warmth and concern. I won't let you down tomorrow, don't doubt it, she said tiredly. I'm counting on you very much. Well, let's go to bed. It's late, and I have to get up at dawn. Valeria got up calmly in the morning before everyone else. She made coffee and quickly got to work. Grigory woke up too. The woman didn't even recognize the old man. After showering, sleeping, and dressing in clean clothes, it was hard to call him an old man now. Quite an intelligent man for his age. She told him where to put things, what to feed them, when to walk them, etc. Val figured out that if little Andrew suddenly got a fever, there was antipyretic syrup in the kitchen cupboard. He should be given a dessert spoonful. Time was running out, and she was still wandering around the house, unable to get out, very worried about the children. Grigory understood and reassured her. Well, go. Don't be nervous, or you'll be late. Don't worry, everything will be fine. I won't let you down, I promise. Valeria ran at full speed, and still, she was a little late. The stern boss immediately reprimanded her. One more late arrival and you won't get your bonus, is that clear? The woman was quick to apologize. I understand everything. It won't happen again. But don't take away my extra pay. I have 5 children. The boss got even more upset. So what? Is that a reason to be late? They give birth like cats, and then they don't know what to do with them. Get to work. Valeria was very offended. She was scolded for nothing. Her salary is miserable, and she has no bonus. She is crying, and she was counting on that. Silvio needed white money to buy white claws for the matinee, and Marek and Misha's shoes are worn out. They are useless. She went to the back room to beat or get a bucket and a rag, and went to fill the water to start mopping the floors. Valeria did not work as a janitor because she was stupid or uneducated. It was simply that with so many children, she was not hired anywhere. Who would want an employee who is always on sick leave? She has been looking for a part-time job since her husband died and has barely found one. She was hired as a technician at Argo because her boss has taken pity on her. Her colleague Olga greeted her and asked, "Why are you so sad? Has something happened?" Today I had no one to leave the children with, so I had to ask a stranger to sit with me. He's an old man, a vagabond. He saved me from a bully yesterday, and now I'm not right in the head. Olga gaped at her. Are you crazy? He's going to rob you. For God's sake, these people are always there to gain their trust. How can you be so naive and trust children without shame? Don't be ridiculous. What is he going to steal from me? Diapers and underwear. I have nothing, no money, no expensive equipment. My partner just shook me and went to wash the fender. And Valeria got even more worried and was on edge all day. She scolded herself with the last words. I can't wait for the shift to end. I'm going crazy. How are my bunnies? God forbid. He really is crazy. Although he didn't seem like it. 4 more hours. It was as if time had stopped. He ran home faster than a jet plane, not paying attention to the puddles or the strong wind. He couldn't think of anything else in his head. He climbed the stairs and listened for any crying. But no. The entrance was silent. He turned the key in the lock. From the lock, he looked into the hall. His mouth dropped open. Lisa was watching cartoons, and Misha, Marek and Silvio were playing with Grigor Ivanovich on the floor and enthusiastically building a Lego house. And little Andrew was playing in the playpen with an interesting device he had made himself, similar to a windmill, and sticking out his tongue, he tried to spin it stubbornly. The children were happy, clean, and quite happy. Valeria called out to everyone. "Hello, darlings. Your mother is here. I have missed you so much." The children immediately ran up to her and hugged her, and Gregory took Andrew in his arms and came over too. The woman thanked the old man. "Gregory Ivanovich, thank you. Thank you very much. What a good job. The children are happy and the apartment is not a mess. I don't always manage to do that. We have cookie crumbs and candy wrappers everywhere. It's usual." The man smiled and said, "I'm glad you're happy. We've become friends, haven't we, guys? Let's have dinner. I've made soup and pancakes, although we hardly all eat them. But there's some left for you." Valeria splashed her hands. "You're a treasure. More cooked pancakes. I won't let you go anywhere. Stay. Live a little longer. You'll help me a lot." Grigory Ivanovich was clearly delighted. "I agree. Help for you and shelter for me. I don't want to wander the streets again." When the children went to bed, Valeria sat down with the old man in the kitchen to drink tea. The woman ventured to ask him, "Tell me a little about yourself. How did you end up without a house of your own? Have you no relatives, or have you been in a fight? Anything could happen. You don't look like a vagabond, for God's sake." The man sighed heavily. "I'd be glad to tell you if I could remember anything. But I woke up in a dirty ditch with my head smashed in. That's what happened to me. That's all. No matter how hard I tried to remember something, it was a total fiasco, darkness, memory loss. I don't know anything about myself, who I am, and where I come from here, thanks to a vagrant I found myself. She came in and dragged me to her shack. There were 2 other poor people like me. They gave me some clothes made of paper because mine was soaked, and some ointment for my head. But of course, they weren't very happy with me, because I had 1 more mouth to feed. Actually, I woke up in the next town. I was there for a week. But for some reason, this place magnetically attracts me. Here I am. I just hitchhiked. I've been wandering for a while. Maybe I used to live here. I don't know. There's nowhere to sleep. There's nowhere to sleep. The tenants kick me out. The night station. So you know, I just have nowhere to go. Such are my unhappy affairs." The woman, shocked by what she had heard, felt intolerably sorry for the poor man. He was really a victim of circumstances and asked in bewilderment, "Why didn't the police come? Perhaps they could have helped him." Grigory Ivanovich smiled sadly. "I tried, Valeria, to seek protection from the police, but they laughed at me and threw me out. I'm not normal, and there's no help for me. And you, Valeria, you're so young, 30 years old. How did you end up with a bunch of children alone? And besides, since when did you have so many?" Valeria also became sad and began to share her feelings. She had long wanted to talk to someone after her husband's death. I myself came from a dysfunctional family. My parents, if you can call them that, sometimes drank, sometimes fought, and then they didn't work out. My mother was always beating people. A black eye was a common occurrence. There was no normal food, no life. I mostly disappeared into the street or hid with the neighbors. I somehow grew up on my own, like a weed on the side of the road. Some kind people helped me go to college to become an accountant. A girl from the neighborhood went there and I followed her for company. I graduated with honors. By the way, I always got A's in math. And then I met Sergei. It was an accident. He was carrying bricks to a construction site and I was walking in the rain soaked and without an umbrella. So, he left me at the nursing home. That's how we met. My fiancé was 10 years older than me and had 2 small children in his arms. His wife left them. She turned out to be a whore and went abroad with her lover. And Sergei was good. He didn't abandon his children or send them to an orphanage. He raised them alone. These are Lisa and Micha, the eldest. At first I was afraid to get involved in all this. I was young and inexperienced. But when I got used to it, the children fell in love with me. I couldn't fall in love with life without Sergei and the children. All my friends made fun of me and looked at me with their fingers. They said, "Are you crazy? Why are you hanging such a burden on your neck? Find yourself a young man and don't be fooled." And for me, Sergei and the children were probably the embodiment of a real family. A family home that I never had. And it turned out that I gave birth to 3 more, one after the other. The midwives at the maternity hospital also joked. "Are you going for a record?" That's how we had marriage, Silvio and Andrew. Sergei was a good father and husband, and he adored his children, but he had to work 2 jobs to feed them all. The lack of money was catastrophic. During the day he worked on a construction site until he was sweating, and at night he drove an old Volga. Tired, of course, is fatal. And trying so hard to get him to quit that taxi. You couldn't make all the money, and health is one thing. But he wouldn't do it. He kept dreaming of saving up for a house, saying, "How long are we going to live in this house?" And 6 months ago, he crashed to his death. He fell asleep at the wheel and lost control of the car. When I got the news of his death, I screamed so loud that all the neighbors came running. They thought I'd gone crazy. It was hard for me then. All the money we were saving went up in the funeral. I remember it like a fog. I felt sick all the time and I fainted. That's how I ended up a widow at 30, with 5 little ones in my arms. I couldn't expect any help from my parents. They were useless. They didn't even need me and my husband was an orphan. I started looking for a job but I couldn't do anything. Nobody wanted to work with such a caravan. I had to quit. There was only one company that the director quit, but not as an accountant, as I asked, but as a cleaner, but thanks for that too. But he warned me right away. No sick leave. There's no way out. I agree. But is it possible? One of them will bring a cold from the nursery, the other some kind of infection. And now there is a quarantine, and even Andrew is sick. So what do I do? And you can't go out for the whole day. My heart aches. Everyone is still small, and no one wants to sit down. Neighbors and friends are already backing out. Everyone has their own problems and worries. So why would they want such a burden, even for just one day? So it's not very fun. I even offered 2 older children to the orphanage to determine good neighbors. Can you imagine? But you don't think I would ever do that. That's a betrayal. I love you all. This is not a cat or a dog. How can you take somewhere and give your own? So you help me a lot if you agree to live a little longer. And so they lived with Grigory Ivanovich as one family. The children accepted and loved him immediately. They called grandfather Grigory, respected him and listened to him. He told them interesting stories about travels and other countries. He was also a very skilled healer, quite a talent. When Andrew fell ill, the old man examined his throat without hesitation like a real doctor. He examined him and said, "Angina? Who knows?" He gave the boy compresses, gargled his throat with grass. He told him what medicines to buy, and within a week, he had the baby on his feet. Valeria could only wonder, "Grigory Ivanovich, aren't you a doctor? I've been through so many illnesses with my children, and I don't know how to treat them like you do. And I always get confused with the names of medicines. And you are like a magician. You do everything so quickly, so clearly." And the man replied, "I've already thought about it myself. How can I be so good at handling and treating children? It happens by itself, automatically. The staff was quick to spread the rumor that the cleaning lady is crazy. Not only has she given birth to 5 children, but she has also brought a homeless man off the street and is taking care of him. It is not at all clever. Everyone looked at Valeria and laughed behind her back. The boss, of course, knew this too, but he didn't say anything. He just looked at the technique with a certain amount of surprise, thinking it was a bit strange. The woman was already in high spirits because she now wanted to find another part-time job so that she could earn some money on the payroll. But another sad event occurred in her family. Lisa fainted during gymnastics class while running cross-country. They barely revived her. She got scared and came running. The nurse scared her even more. You know, while I was examining Lisa, I noticed some unpleasant symptoms. Do her lips and fingertips often turn blue? Do she get tired quickly? Have you noticed anything strange? Valeria thought about it and answered, yes, of the 5, Lisa is the quietest. She doesn't run or move much and prefers to read or watch cartoons. She has a hard time getting up in the morning, and in the afternoons she falls asleep after school. And she eats very poorly, and her lips often turn blue. What could it be? The nurse just shook her head. I don't want to scare her in advance, but all these symptoms are very similar to serious heart problems. I'll give you a referral for an examination. I may be wrong. Valeria, frightened, went to the doctor the next day. They examined the girl thoroughly and found a heart defect. She needed urgent surgery, but it cost a lot of money. Valeria rushed to the doors of the administration and begged for money, like a family with many children. But they put her on an endless waiting list. The woman could hardly contain herself in front of her children, and when she finally had them all ready, she sat down on a chair and burst into tears of despair. Grigor Ivanovich told her everything. Do you understand that in this queue and 6 months you can wait for such a huge amount of money and Lisa is supposed to die? Well, where can I get the damn money? God, it's like a curse, one thing and another. Grigory Ivanovich comforted her as best he could. Well, don't cry, don't lose your heart. Of course the situation is bad, you can't joke about a heart defect. This is not a sniffle. And suddenly the old man began to rush through the terms and explain exactly what kind of illness Lisa has and what its insidiousness is. What exactly does she need an operation for and what is its essence? The woman opened her mouth. She stopped. Grigor Ivanovich, can I take your photo? You are not a vagabond, especially after what I just heard from you. If you need help finding your relatives, let me post your photo everywhere, and I will show it at work. Maybe someone will look for you, and you will remember everything. For another week, Valeria was torn between work, knocking on the doors of social institutions and charity foundations, and placing advertisements about her life, about Grigory Ivanovich. Fortunately, all this did not yield any results. Lisa was getting worse and she couldn't walk 10 meters without gasping for air. She slept a lot and kept asking, Mom, I'm afraid of dying. It must be painful. Will you miss me? Will I see my dad up there in heaven? Her heart was breaking into 1,000 little pieces at her daughter's words. Tears were welling up in her eyes and she kissed her and comforted her as best she could. No, Lisa, you're not going to die. Don't be silly. Soon Mom will find a magician. He'll operate on you. You'll recover and run even faster. The other children also understood that something was wrong with their sister and that she was sick. They fell silent and tried to cheer her up in every way possible. A few weeks passed, and when she could no longer stand, she was taken to the ward. The doctors did everything they could to keep her alive, but they insisted that only an operation would save her, and the sooner the better. Valeria was exhausted, thinner and thinner. There was only one thought in her head: where to get the damn money and save my daughter. The Red Cross helped with some. The stadium gave a little, but still, there was not even half of the fabulous amount. One day, without much hope, she brought Grigor Ivanovich's photo to work and began showing it to all the employees, asking if anyone knew the man. The mischievous head of the department immediately scolded her, saying go and clean up instead of doing nonsense, and immediately ran to tell the director. She had been having a sore throat for a long time, this fussy mother of many children, and he secretly wanted to get rid of her. Violetta Vitalievna had no husband or children. Therefore, she had no sympathy and did not want to get involved in other people's problems with children. Igor, the director of the company, tried to listen to the flow of complaints against a colleague and stopped with a gesture. Enough, don't take up my time. Invite the cleaning lady. I'll talk to her myself. The cheerful boss immediately found Valeria and said sarcastically, go see the director right now. I told him all about your tricks at work. I think you've forgotten who got the job here. To her surprise, tired and exhausted from domestic problems, Valeria did not react at all to Violetta Vitalievna. She only said quietly, okay, I'm coming. Going to the director's office, Valeria imagined how he would scold her now and perhaps even fire her. The woman thought with annoyance, what was left for me? To be out of work. She knocked timidly on the door and entered. Hello, Igor, did you want to see me? He looked at her intently and said, explain to me why you hand out leaflets during work hours. Or are you bored with your job? Show me what you're advertising, I'm really interested. Valeria couldn't bear it. All the tiredness and grief she had accumulated over the past month literally poured out like an avalanche. I'm not spreading anything. I took in an old man who was wandering around the streets and lost his memory. He's a good name and helps me with the children. So I helped him, took a photo of him, and went around the city asking around. Maybe someone is looking for him. Leaflets stuck on poles, ads posted on social media. I asked them, but are they the people? They immediately ran off to complain and litter. Here, take a look. Maybe you've seen it somewhere. Grigory Ivanovich doesn't look like a bum. Smart, kind-hearted. He took the photo in his hands and jumped on his chair. It can't be. Dad, I found him. My God. He ran to the stunned Valeria and hugged her tightly, whimpering. Thank you so much, Valeria. You are a holy man. This is my own father. I have searched everywhere for him. I filed a complaint with the police and hired a detective. He is a talented pediatric surgeon on his way to a symposium, and he disappeared. It was as if he had vanished. You should have known how exhausted I was, how happy I am. Can we go and find him right now? A bewildered Valeria nodded affirmatively. Of course. He lives in my house. Let's go and work. They got into the car and hurried back home. The co-workers gasped as the cheerful boss, instead of giving the mother of many children a good beating, ran off with her and took off in an unknown direction. The woman opened the door and entered the kitchen with the director. Grigor Ivanovich hummed some simple children's tune and clapped his hands merrily and tapped his spoon in time. He sat in the child's high chair. The other children were in kindergarten. Igor Grigorievich ran up to the old man and shouted, Dad, you found him! Lord, what a joy! He began to hug his beloved man and stroke his back, and then the man, it seemed, began to remember. Igor, is that you? You're my son, right? That's right, I remembered. And who am I? Tell me. A doctor? The man nodded. Yes, Dad. You're a pediatric surgeon. Don't you remember anything? You went to a symposium in Moscow and got lost. Every day I got up, fell down looking for you. The old man in anguish twisted his head. I don't remember anything. It's dark. I woke up in a ditch with my head sunken. That's it. No money, no papers, nothing. First I was taken in by homeless people, and then for some reason I came to this particular town. I guess I was drawn here unconsciously. I went to the police. I wanted to write a report, but they threw me out like a dishonorable vagrant and didn't even talk to me. I thought I was going to die. I was starving. It was freezing outside, and they were chasing me up and down the stairs. Thanks to Valeria and her wonderful children, they took the old man in, warmed him, clothed him, gave him shoes, and loved him like one of their own. I'm so used to children that I don't know how I'll live without them now. Igor hugged his father again. Don't worry, Dad. Everything will be fine. The bad things will be forgotten. The main thing is that they found you. Let's go home. I've missed you so much. The old man suddenly looked at Valeria and Andrew. And you. And the children. Who's going to sit with them? And Lisa. The woman just waved her hand. Nothing. We'll manage. This isn't the first time. I'm very glad you've found relatives. Take care. In any case, you are always welcome. Come and visit us. They said goodbye warmly. The men left, and Valeria suddenly put her head on the table and began to cry. She had run out of strength. Frightened, Andrew echoed her and cried even louder. He cried, "Grandpa!" But Valeria knew that Grandpa would never come back, and somehow that made her feel so sick and sad. Grigory Ivanovich had lived with them for only a couple of months, but he had become like family, the closest person. Sometimes they had a heart-to-heart talk, and that made him feel better, and somehow it made him clearer where to run and what to do. Meanwhile, all the way, Grigory told his son about Valeria and the children. Igor, you cannot imagine what a strong and noble person this is, and what a difficult and broken fate befell her. I don't know where she gets the strength to survive it all. Not only that, she took in her husband with 2 children and gave birth to 3 more. And her husband had a car accident 6 months ago. She was advised to give her illegitimate children to a foster home because it would be easier for her, but she refused. She is fighting and surviving, but she is not giving up. She took in an old homeless man who did not belong to her, and then, as if in a sin, my eldest daughter Lisa falls ill. She has a heart defect and is getting worse. She started to get worse. She is now very seriously in intensive care. She needs an urgent operation. Otherwise, the baby will die. Poor Valeria has been knocking on doors, collecting money, and she hasn't even gotten halfway. My son, we have to help her. We can't let such grief pass by. It's not human. Igor even got upset. Dad, do I mind? Let's help. If you want right now. Let's go, and I'll pay for the operation. What a serious matter. The old surgeon was delighted. That's right. Let's go right now. The rest can wait. We can't delay because the baby's life is hanging in the balance. The next morning, Valeria took all the children in and took Liz to the hospital. She entered the room and saw that the bed was empty. Her legs rose by themselves. The woman howled longingly and collapsed, thinking that the worst had happened and that her daughter had died during the night. Without waiting for help, Valeria woke up on the couch. A nurse was milling around her, giving her smelling salts. The woman screamed, "Where is my daughter? Is she dead?" The nurse crossed her eyes. "Shit. What are you talking about? Lisa was taken away early this morning for surgery. Didn't they tell you? Didn't you already sign the consent form?" Valeria couldn't believe her ears. "Is this true? And what about the huge amount of money I haven't collected until now?" The nurse smiled. "Don't worry, it's all paid for. So it's okay, don't worry." Lara looked at the nurse in shock. Who paid for it? Who is this magician? I should thank them for saving my daughter, but she just shrugged. The man preferred to remain anonymous. Valeria trembled in the hall for 4 long, agonizing hours. She prayed incessantly as if she had been wound up. "Lord help me," she repeated like a spell. "I want Elisa to live. Don't take my daughter away from me." It seemed to her that time had stopped and that the hands of the clock were not moving. The operation was a success. The doctor informed her and even allowed her to stay in the hospital and look after her daughter. And Valeria finally breathed a sigh of relief. She immediately received a call from an unknown number. Surprised, she picked up the phone. It was her manager himself. "Hello, Valeria. How is your daughter?" "I assume she is in the hospital," Valeria replied. "Hello, Igor, yes?" "Everything is going well. The operation was a success." I don't know who paid for the operation, but I will be eternally grateful to this man. I want to stay with my daughter. I want to support her until she gets stronger. But I can't, because I have 4 small children alone at home. I have to take them all out of daycare and work with them. Also, can I take at least a week off or a sick day? You can't leave an 8-year-old alone. I know you warned me, but the man didn't let her finish. Valeria, I have good news for you. First, you can keep your daughter. My father has volunteered to babysit and spend the night with the little ones. Second, starting tomorrow, you will have a babysitter at your disposal. I have found a very decent woman with very good references. When she comes, and how much she sits with the children, you tell her yourself as needed. I will pay for her services myself, don't worry. Third, starting tomorrow, you will be reappointed to the position of accountant at home. That is, I will send you the documents and you will work with them at home, so as not to leave the children for a long time. In addition, I have tripled your salary. Go to work when you are ready. That's it. Valeria could not utter a word. It was like magic. Her most fantastic dreams were coming true, and in the role of the magician was her own director. She realized that it was he who had paid for Lisa's operation. There was no one else. She cried, sobbing, "Thank you for everything, Igor. I am indebted to you. You saved my daughter's life. You helped her with her work and with the nanny. I don't know. You are like a good magician. I didn't even expect such a miracle." But he just laughed. "It's the least I can do for you. After all, you are the same." Without thinking, you took in my father with 5 small children. Who knows what would have happened to her during those 2 months on the street? So, thank you for your kind and accepting heart. To be honest, I thought that there were no such kind people at this age. That's all. No distractions. Take care of your daughter. Goodbye. Valeria stayed with her daughter in the hospital and looked after her for a whole month, occasionally rushing home with the rest of her children. The visiting nanny, Elena, was a very decent and intelligent woman, a retired kindergarten teacher. She looked after the little ones with pleasure and knowledge, which helped her a lot. Lisa recovered quickly and soon began to walk, eat well, and stop panting. They were discharged, and Valeria started working part-time as an accountant. At first she was afraid, but when her first report was brilliant, Igor called her personally and praised her. "Valeria, thank you for your excellent work. I am very satisfied. We will continue to work together. Why didn't you say right away that you had a talent for accounting and suffered with a floor rag? It doesn't suit you at all. You deserve better." The woman was very happy with the compliments, and in general she really liked Igor. He was like an example for her in everything, an idol, and the way he looked at her, that piercing look made her shudder. Her whole being shuddered. She had never experienced anything like this. After all, with the late Sergei, it had been there somehow. Everything was built on love and care for children. That was what held the family together. And here she was experiencing a very bright, strong, and hitherto unexperienced feeling, which made her happy and deeply unhappy at the same time. She thought 1,000 times, why would he want me with a bunch of other people's children? It's not crazy, he's just helping me out of gratitude for having saved his father, nothing more. And don't build castles in the air or illusions, we have nothing in common. But then why is he looking at me like that? Grigory Ivanovich visited Lera and the children very often. It was obvious that the old man loved them with all his heart. The children always waited for him and happily threw themselves at his neck with the words, "Hooray! Grandfather has come, and what are we going to do today?" Slowly, Grigory Ivanovich, being at his native walls, remembered everything. It turned out that 2 bandits had attacked him on the train. They approached him and first offered him a drink, then robbed him, and when they realized that the passenger did not let himself be provoked, they decided to rob him openly. They saw that the old man was carrying an expensive watch and a locked crocodile skin briefcase. They thought it was money, and had no idea that the man was a doctor and that the briefcase contained important papers and new instruments. They locked the compartment door from the inside and robbed him. Grigor Ivanovich resisted, and a scuffle ensued. But it was clear that the forces were not equal, and the scoundrels hit him on the head with a bottle. They thought they had killed him and threw him off the train into a ditch as they moved forward, passing several more stations in another city. The old man even remembered their faces well. One of the scoundrels had a special mark, a tattoo on his arm in the shape of a sword. His son made every effort and connections to find these scoundrels. Grigor Ivanovich identified them, and it turned out that he was not the first victim, and they received the punishment they deserved. Justice prevailed. Grigor Ivanovich, after the experience, began to engage in private consultations only and spent a lot of time with Lera's children. They became such friends that many of the neighbors actually thought he was Lera's cousin, her own grandfather, who came to look after her grandchildren. Life was gradually getting better. The children grew up, and Lera, thanks to her stable and well-paid job, could now afford to spend some money on herself. Finally, for the first time in years, she went to the hairdresser, dyed her hair blonde, cut her hair into a cascade, and bought modern clothes. She no longer dressed her children in cheap clothes, but saved every penny and could afford to buy them beautiful, quality clothes and toys. Igor Ivanovich did not forget them either. He visited them, at first only for work, looking over Lera's reports and summaries, and then he started to stay for coffee or lunch, and he would happily eat her specialty of beetroot soup and cutlets, and eat rice and kuzel with the children. He found himself thinking that here, in this small, narrow house with a bunch of children, it was cozier than anywhere else. The man secretly admired Lera, especially since she had changed her appearance. It's incredible. How could such a beautiful woman cope with a bunch of children, work and at the same time always be positive? Everything about her was organic. The kind, radiant eyes with a twist, the soft, graceful movements, the swan-necked posture, and a loud, spicy laugh. He could just sit there, smile, and admire the woman without saying a word. Igor Ivanovich secretly dreamed of getting closer to Valeria, but he didn't know how to do it. He was afraid that Lera would misunderstand everything and get offended. For a long time, Grigor Ivanovich watched how they both secretly loved each other, but not daring to cross the line, so he decided to help them a little. He came up with a cunning plan. He went to Lera's house and said, "Valeria, I have a favor to ask you. I happened to get 6 tickets to the circus. There's a new ice show on. Let me go with the children. I'd love to please them today and have fun myself. I want to enjoy my old age like when I was a child." Lera was delighted. "Oh, Grigor Ivanovich, thank you very much. With you, of course, I will let you go. It is difficult to imagine a better grandfather. My children respect and obey you. At least I will finish my report because I am about to pass. And I keep getting distracted one thing or another." The crafty old man gathered the children and took them to the circus. He booked a suite in the most prestigious hotel in the city and called his son. "Igor, come urgently to the Hotel Leon, room 203 at 6 p.m. Will Lera be waiting for you there? It seems urgent. She asked me to tell you." Igor, surprised, replied, "Okay, I will be there." Then Grigor Ivanovich called Lera. "Honey, Igor told me to tell you to come to the Hotel Leon at 6. He has some urgent business. Don't worry about the kids. We'll go to McDonald's after the show, so there's time." Having done what he had planned, the cheerful man rubbed his hands together, pleased with himself, and shouted to the kids, "Who wants popcorn and cotton candy? Let's get in line." The children got excited and ran for the candy. After Grigory Ivanovich called, Lera's heart began to beat faster for some reason. What was Igor up to? Why in the hotel? Has he come home? We need to clean up right away, just in case. What do you think? What do I look like? At 6 o'clock, Igor came into the room and was stunned. No one was there. But the table was closed. It was elegantly set. Champagne, grapes, chocolate. Soon Lara came rushing in wearing a light, airy dress, a cream-colored belt and elegant sandals. No one would say that she had 5 children. She smiled and turned to Igor. "Hello, here I am. Did your father tell you that you called me?" "I can hear you. What's wrong?" "Because he suddenly took the children to the circus. I don't understand anything." "What's wrong?" And then Igor realized, he thought to himself, "What a father, what a trickster." He thought of everything. And I, an idiot, would never have dared to do it myself. And he said out loud, "It happened, Lara. I fell in love with you like a child. I think about you all night and dream that you were mine alone. The man has won." He abruptly grabbed the stunned woman in his arms and began to cover every millimeter of her body with tender kisses. Lara melted in his arms like ice cream and did not even try to resist. After all, she herself had been dreaming about him all night, and now her wildest fantasies were coming true. 4 hours flew by like a minute, and they were both lying exhausted in the luxurious bed, drinking ice-cold strawberry champagne. Suddenly, Lara jumped up and came to her senses. "Igor, what time is it?" "Around 10:30. It's time to go home. What kind of mother am I? I've completely forgotten about my children." The man laughed, hugged her, pulled her to him, and showed her the message from her father. "It's okay. We're at home with the kids. I'll sleep with them. Get some rest." Lara exhaled in relief and said, "Gregor! Ivanovich!" What a beast! He understood everything. "Thank you so much to him and to you. Thank you. I have started a new, wonderful page in my life, more like a beautiful fairy tale than reality. You know, I am so afraid to go to sleep, and when I wake up, there is nothing. I have never met a man like you. We did not live with my late husband. We survived together. My head was only full of problems and worries, and I had no time or energy left for anything else. Do you understand? And only with you did I finally remember that I was a woman. I wanted to look better, to be more beautiful. I had forgotten what I looked like, hadn't I?" Igor passionately kissed Lara and also opened up. "Honey, I feel the same way with you. I've never been there. Who would have thought I would fall in love with a woman with 5 children? I would have shaken my head. Seriously, my parents always went. My father is a neonatologist and a professor. My mother is a dentist. We had a good life. I didn't follow in their footsteps after high school and studied economics. I first managed to open a cooperative and then set up my own company. My mother, unfortunately, died a long time ago. My father couldn't get over his grief for a long time. Only his job saved him, and people always went to him for advice. He answered the phone even at night, without getting angry. A child is the most sacred thing. Of course, there were plenty of women in my life to hide, but believe me, I never had an affair with one, and there was always some kind of self-interest. Giving you a gift would have a night of love and a sea of passion. But just like you, feeding you with delicious borscht or dumplings, or giving shelter to a frail old man, of course, that was out of the question. I have always liked children, because my father is a pediatrician, and we always had crowds of mothers with their babies, even at home, and I was happy taking care of them. But when I saw how you handled your restless children, I was very proud of you. Seriously, having said that, I never heard any aggression, no swearing, no shouting from you. Everything seems to be going very well for you. I hope to be a friend and an older comrade, to support and help you in everything. I promise you." The couple kissed passionately again, and Igor whispered in her ear, "And how about having another baby for me? Where there are 5, there are 6. Lara laughed and answered playfully, "We'll see, but in principle I don't mind. Just let Andres grow up a little." Since that night in Lara's life, everything has been a very cool change. Igor made his proposal official, and they got married modestly. The man bought a huge country house and moved there with her father, Lera, and the children. Now there was room for everyone. The children had a real playroom with exercise ladders and trampolines, cute bunk beds shaped like cars and princesses, and lots of modern gadgets and toys. Swings and slides, a sandbox and other attractions were all made for the little ones in the house. The children were ecstatic. They could now run and play by themselves all day long. He didn't have to worry that, God forbid, a car would fly away or anything else would happen. Lera and Igor also had their own cozy bedroom, where they were separate from everyone else and loved each other at night. Of course, Lera had much more to worry about. The house was huge, but it was still a pleasure. Grigor Ivanovich was now the same, like a little boy, playing with the children and enjoying the fresh pine air. Now, Lera worked in a mixed household, partly at home and partly in the office. She was very amused when she and Igor walked hand in hand into the company. Violetta Vitalyevna, unpleasant, lay down in front of them and scattered praise. "Good afternoon. You look pretty, Valeria. Your new hairdo suits you well. Have a nice day. I'm here if you need me." In fact, the deceitful Violetta and many other employees only retched with bile. And they said to the boss in the smoking room, "Look at her, she's a piece of shit. That's it." There, Lenka, a secretary, such a beautiful woman, turned around. "And this scavenger with a bunch of snotty children took such a man. Where is the justice in the world?" Lera, of course, heard about all this gossip, but she just found it funny. Let them be jealous. Last year, flying away unnoticed, for the summer Igor decided to pamper his huge family and take them all to the house, all to the sea. The joy knew no bounds. Lera had never been to the sea in her life, and the children let alone. She decided to take her nanny and, of course, Grigor Ivanovich. The children flatly refused to go without their beloved grandfather. The rest was simply unforgettable. A boat ride, banana riding, sweet red wine, and aromatic melons. Everyone had a great rest, and healthy, tanned, and full of positive energy for the whole year. And then, a month after arriving, Lera began to feel those painfully familiar symptoms: nausea, drowsiness, and heaviness in the lower abdomen. She did not need tests or doctors to guess what was wrong with her. It was clear. She was pregnant again, for the 4th time. The woman panicked. "My God, how could I have done this? Andrew is only 3 years old. What karma! People can't give birth to one in their entire life, and here he comes again, and God forbid. What about Igor? How can I be alone with so many people?" When I think back to how we lived, I get goosebumps. 3 times a tea bag was brewed and cheap pasta and sausages. Igor was a shrewd man, attentive to detail, and of course he couldn't help but notice his wife's change of mood. She became somewhat nervous and distant. She could sit, stir her tea with a spoon for a long time, and stare at one spot for a long time. It was obvious that something was wrong. The man did not like suspense, so at night when they went to bed, he asked Lera directly, "Lovely, what is going on? Have you changed anything about Conroe? Can we talk about it? I don't like all this at all. If I have offended you in any way, or if you are sick, say it. Anything. The truth is always better than having no secrets." Lera swallowed nervously and said, "Igor, I am pregnant again, and I am very afraid that if you decide to leave me or something else happens, I will be left alone again with 6 children. Andrew is only 3 years old, and I will have to have another baby. I cannot bear it one more time. When I remember how I survived after Sergei died, I start to tremble. The midwives at the maternity ward laughed at me so much that I decided to have my 3rd, and, if I came back 3 years later, I would have my 4th. I can just imagine their faces." She suddenly burst into tears, just like when she was a little girl, clinging to her husband's chest. He beamed and jumped onto the couch. He started kissing and hugging Lera tighter and began to calm her down and reassure her. "God, you silly girl, Why are you afraid? It's a blessing. I'm going to be a dad, don't worry. I won't divide my children between mine and other people's. I'll love them all equally. This mansion is in your name, and I've opened a deposit, so there will be interest accumulating in your account. You won't end up poor anyway. And get those bad thoughts out of your head. You are the best, after all. Motherhood is a woman's most important purpose, no matter what people say when they see us with a baby or another time. I will be by your side. I will not abandon you, and I will support you. I understand that it is not easy for you with so many children. But now we have a wonderful nanny and my dad. We will be fine. And I thought that you were sick, or that something did not please you. The next morning, after breakfast, Igor solemnly said, Father, I congratulate you. You will soon be a grandfather. Lera is pregnant, so we are going to have one more child. But personally, I am just glad. And you? Grigor Ivanovich was very glad that I was going to be a grandfather and told everyone. So I am going to be a grandfather, and I already have 5 grandchildren. So we are waiting for the 6th. Right, guys? It is time for me to change my profession, and there will be a private kindergarten. I think I'm doing very well. Come on, everyone. Let's go out into the yard and have fun. We'll have fun in 2 teams and race against each other to pick apples and bring them under the awning. I'll help the hungover ones. The one who picks the most apples will get a super prize from Grandpa. The others won't be left without a hangover either, okay? 1, 2, go! The children immediately started to get excited and try, grunting and carrying apples in children's buckets. Lera and Igor laughed watching all this, and Grigor Ivanovich declared that he was not a master. The job was done, and the children were happy. You just have to know how to do it. That's how it is in life, sorrows and joys mixed together, after a dark streak always. The most important thing is to live with a clear conscience and have a kind and understanding heart, and then higher powers will help you overcome all adversities and be happy. And so Lera followed her difficult path, devoting her life to her children, helping other people, and suddenly, without expecting it, she found true love and a woman's happiness.